Hello, garden friend. It's April and it's time for the garden tour. Welcome to Finding Joy in the Garden. So, if you've been here in the past, you might notice a few new things, and I'll talk about them in the garden. We have a new circle garden and a few seating areas that we will talk about. But let's go back to the OG entrance to the garden. This here is my grape trellis. I've had this 2 or 3 years, and for the first time, I finally pruned these grapes. This is the razzmatazz grape, and I've had it wild for 3 or 4 years now. And a few months ago, I finally pruned it. And as you can see, it's starting to flower. There are so many flowers. Last year, I didn't prune it. It went wild all over here, and I don't think I got any grapes. So I'm really excited. I was intimidated by grapes and the pruning of them, but I think I did a good enough job. I have them all over the top of this trellis, and I expect to see bunches of grapes hanging off of this. This is going to be beautiful. Now, most of the garden has not been planted out. So speaking of the summer crops like the tomatoes and the peppers, but I have put in some cherry tomatoes. This one here is the sun gold, I believe, or sun sugar. And I have 3 plants right here. And then on this side, I have the black cherry tomato and a mystery tomato, which is either a black cherry or a super sweet 100. My chives are blooming, and I think chive flowers are some of the most beautiful flowers. These are edible, so you can eat the chives and you can also eat the flowers. So pretty. And this is the regular, these are the regular chives. I also have lion's mane, or oh yes, garlic, the garlic chives, and they have thicker leaves and white flowers. Look at the buds. Let me show you. You see that? Very pretty. So I have a few perennial things in here. The walking onions. Let's go say hi to those. These are walking onions. They look like regular spring onions, but instead of flowers, you get these bulbs that also grow spring onions and can also grow another bulb. It's like an endless glitch of spring onions, and they propagate very easily. These will get heavy and they will fall to the ground and make a whole new plant. I had one plant here, over there, and it's over the past 2 years has made all these here and there. So that's why they're called walking onions. You can see the difference between how they propagate and, say, the regular spring onions over here, which make these big bowls of flowers and then make seeds in here. The seeds will scatter about and make more spring onions. So very beautiful. I always love it. Every year I get this big swat of spring onion bulbs, and this is also pretty. So my plan for the garden will be to fill these 4 trellises. This is my tomato tunnel. So I've added 2 more trellises. I only had 1 in each of these beds, but now I put another one here and another one there. So there are a total of 4 to make an actual tunnel. And I'm going to have, let's see, 8 tomato plants on each side. So a total of 16 on this side and 16 on that side. I've already planted half of these and some of those, so my job is half done. And then on this side here, I also have some celery that I put in like a month ago. But I will be planting, I'm not sure, either eggplant. I have a whole list. Might be eggplant over here. I'm trying to put things here that the rabbits don't quite enjoy or that I can protect. So here I have flowers. I have some gomphrena, cosmos, and a zinnia that needs some fertilizer. And then over here I've put some thyme, which I propagated from another plant over there. And I expect to have a big ball of thyme, sort of mirroring this one over here. This is my lemon thyme over here. And I put a piece that I propagated in here, I think a year or 2 ago. and it made this whole ball. The flowers, look at the flowers. So this lemon thyme has purple flowers compared to English thyme that has little white flowers. And I do believe I have some English thyme right over here. So I'm trying to put thyme in the corners of every bed. See that? The flowers are white and dainty. So beautiful. More walking onions. I literally bought 4 of these, I think 3 years ago, and now they're all over my garden. Look at them there and everywhere. All right, so back in the distance, I have my citrus, and if you want me to do a tour of my citrus plants, let me know. Leave a comment in the comment section. But I have citrus wrapping around there, and all the way to the side of my porch, behind, or should I say in front of, the little rose bush over there. All right, carrying on. This bed should have a wall of tomatoes. That's the plan. So I've already put in the tomatoes. I think most of these are the Better Boy tomatoes. So I have tomatoes here. It's going to be in an L shape this way and that way. I've got 2 squash plants. One here is the tromboncino squash, or the Trombetta di Albenja. That's here. That's a squash. And I have another one there. These are radish flowers. So I have a daikon radish. I planted one 2 years ago and let it go to seed and flower. And so every year I have volunteer daikon radishes here, and they go to seed and I eat the seed pods. It's delicious. Now, let me show you my accomplishment. This was my first time ever trying to grow actual onions. I've grown the spring onions, but I've never grown actual onions, and this one might be my biggest one so far. It's so pretty. So I'm not sure what happened, but I grew onions in this bed, that bed, and one over there. These ones all seem to go to seed. So see, they all went to seed. Most of the ones in that bed did not. And I think I planted these ones first, so it might have been a change in the weather, but they didn't do so well. But in that bed, I do have some interesting looking onions. And then the biggest one seems to be that one I just showed you. Now this bed, I intend to put corn in, and I already have some planted out. I'm just waiting for them to get a little taller, and then I'll put them in here. And in this bed here, I have a little short trellis here. So I have some determinate and semi-determinate tomatoes. These ones are Rutgers tomatoes. And then I have this prairie fire tomato, which I didn't plant last year and I really missed, because they make these little, they look like aromas, but they're smaller and they're very sweet. They do tend to split when it rains, but I think they're worth giving a place in the garden. So absolutely put one in here. And then I have a cucumber over here to grow up this place. Now this is always full of spring onions, but my plan is to put in okra here. This has been my okra bed for I think 3 years now. And this is the chicken wires just to prevent the rabbits from getting to my okra. And I love the way it looks when it grows and it's tall and flowering. It's so beautiful. My green stalks. Now if you've been here before, you might have noticed that there's a little multiplication happening here. I had 2 green stalks last year. The year before I had 1, which was this one. This one is the leaf planter, and it has 7 tiers. So last year I added that one over there, which is the Inventor's Bundle. And so it has 3 leaf planters. And the leaf planters just means they're smaller. Let me see if I can wrap around. There you go. So the planter, the holes or the pockets are smaller. So there are 1, 2, 3 of those. And then at the bottom, you have the original planters, which are much bigger. For bigger vegetables, I like to put peppers in these ones, and then just leafy greens in these ones. I have planted peppers in these. The smaller size peppers will do okay, but I prefer to use the bigger pockets for them. So in these, I have leafy vegetables. I haven't planted out the bottom ones because I do intend to put peppers in there, but I have some kale. I put in some calendula because why not? This is chijimasai, which is a cross between the bok choy or tatsoi, I think, and komatsuna. I don't remember the name, but I'll put it on the screen here. And it's a really nice soft-leafed vegetable, really nice in a saute. This I may not plant ever again. I think it's the mountain spinach, and it tends to go straight to seed. So I'm not sure if I'm planting it wrong, but this is my second try, and I'm not going to be bothered with it anymore. So these two are mostly leafy greens. Last year I did not plant enough leafy greens and I really regretted it. So this year I'm trying to go all out. These things need fertilizer. Look at this. My little cucumber looks hungry. But I do have calendula as well at the top. Calendula I'm going to be using to make a salve hopefully this year. And these are marigolds which volunteered. I believe is the yellow petite marigold because that's the only one I had planted in the green stalk. And I threw in a zinnia here. It's a shorter one. We'll see what it does. So these two new planters I put in for peppers because if you know, I have trouble with rabbits, which is why almost everything in my garden is wrapped in chicken wire. Look at that. These are new too. So I had these 4 beds last year. The rabbits kept jumping into my garden beds and eating up my zinnias and my peppers. So this year I have wrapped them in chicken wire and we'll see how we do this year. But these green stalks are great for planting peppers because the rabbits generally don't climb these. So I've put in some sweet banana peppers, some serrano peppers, which are these ones here. And I believe I put in some, what are those called? Jalapenos and more sweet banana peppers. So these are my production ones. I put these out probably 3 or 4 weeks ago, much earlier than I should have. And every time we had a drop in temperature, I wrapped them with a frost blanket to keep them warm, and they seem to be doing just fine. So I'm trying to get some early production. And speaking of early production, here's my actual pepper aisle. I've always planted peppers in containers in these 2 aisles, I think for the past 3 years, but last year they were decimated by the rabbits, and so this year I have also wrapped them in chicken wire. So these peppers that you can see here, if you're wondering why they're so tall, I'm gardening in Georgia, zone 8A. I should not have peppers this tall yet, but these ones were overwintered, so I cut them back and took them into my garage, an unheated garage, and I kept them there over the winter and then brought them back out. So I have a couple of them. All the ones here are all overwintered peppers. Some of them look shell shocked and I'm not sure if they're going to wake up, so I haven't mulched that one yet because I may have to pull it, but most of them seem really good. These ones are new. These ones are seedlings that I bought from the big box store. But these ones with the thicker stems, you can see older looking stems. These are all overwintered peppers. And this one looks like a tree. This one grew in my green stalk last year, and obviously it was a little too tall. I think I might have actually grown it in the leaf planter, which was inappropriate to say the least. But she already has little flowers that she's trying to grow. You see those? And this is April the 22nd, 23rd. So see? So we'll see what she does. Now these ones are, of course, seedlings. I planted all the way here, and I have some more seedlings that are getting ready to go in the ground. So I have about 22 containers in each of these places. So hopefully I can grow enough peppers to satisfy the itch this year, because last year I did not have a great pepper year. I also will be putting peppers in these 4 beds over here. Now, speaking of new things, this is also a new bed. This bed I just put in maybe 2 months ago, and I intend to use it for flowers. So here's the vision. You walk in through here, you'll have tomatoes going up the trellis on either side, tomatoes here, peppers on the side, and then you walk to the sound of water and flowers. I've never actually dedicated a bed just to flowers, but I thought, why not? I like the way they make me feel. We'll see. But of course, I planted some Beatrice. Let me see if I can angle this properly. I planted some here, which I had germinated in a cup. And then I put two more here, but they did not come up. So I put in eggplants. I knew I couldn't resist planting food. But yeah, I put an eggplant in there, and I probably will put another one over there. But I tried it. But yeah, the sound of water is so soothing to me. So I was really happy to put this water feature here so that I could listen to the sounds while I gardened. Makes everything better. Now, say hi to the little pergola. I just put this up because I wanted somewhere to sit early in the mornings before the sun came blazing out, and I love it. So its main purpose was just to put these grapes up somewhere. These grapes have been laying on the floor for 2 or 3 years. I put these, no, I think it's more like 3 years. These are seeded grapes. I forget the name. Let me see. The tag is still on here. The Carlos Scopernog. So it has a male and a female. That's the male. That's the female. And they've been here for 3 or so years without a trellis, just floating around on the ground. And I finally put something up so they could climb and be useful. And for the first time, I also pruned her. And she is saying thank you by producing little flowers. So where are they? Of course, now I'm talking about the flowers. They hiding. Why are you hiding? All right, I do see the flowers finally. So there they are. Ooh, ladybug. Do you see her? Oh, do you see her? Oh, she's in the shadows. I love ladybugs, and I've seen so many of them this year. So excited. Oh, didn't mean to do that. Didn't mean to drop you. Oh, it's too shaded. You can't see her, but it's all ladybug. But I love the colors here. The yellow chairs and the white flowers. Makes me so happy. Can't describe it. All right, let's take a walk down over here, and I also cleared this place out. As you can see, I have English ivy, which is so annoying, over here, and it extends pretty much all around the property. But I cleared this little area out and put some wood chips down, some cardboard to keep the weeds at bay for a little bit, because here I have my little fertilizer plant, the comfrey. I have these two, and this is the one that doesn't spread as much. It's the block 14, I think it's called, but it makes sterile flowers, so it doesn't spread by seed. But of course, if you dig it up and separate it, any piece you separate can make a new plant. But I have planted some pawpaw. Let's see that. And you need 2 varieties for pollination. So I have 2 varieties. I forget the names because I didn't label them, but I have them somewhere for when I need them. So I have 2 different varieties of pawpaws and my comfrey here. So excited. The pawpaws do like some shade, especially when they're younger. So this place is shaded a lot during the day. And if they get older and they need some sun, I can cut back some of these. This is a honeysuckle, and I can cut it back to let it have some more sun. Here's berry aisle. I have raspberries in here. It's been here for 3 years, hasn't produced anything because the rabbits keep jumping in here and eating it back. So this year I've put some, you guessed it, chicken wire, and they seem to be leaving it alone. Not just the rabbits, the little chipmunks and squirrels like to jump in here and dig and plant whatever they want. I put some zinnias. Oh, see what I mean by plant whatever they want? I didn't plant this. I didn't plant this. Annoying. So hopefully next year I can get something out of these raspberries. But the blueberries the blueberries did not come to play. This is, I think, my third year or so with these blueberries, and look at that. Way more than last year. Way more flowers, way more berries. Look at that. My goodness, I hope the camera is picking this. I'm gonna have some blueberries. Not blueberries, these are blackberries. These are blackberries, lady. Look at that. This is so pretty. I want to put a bed around here so they can grow without all these weeds, and some wood chips, but that's a job for future me. So continuing with the berry theme, I have blueberries here. Look at that. Loads of blueberries here, and a ton of blueberries on this one as well. Now, this area of my garden, we're going to pretend we can't see it. This is a little messy, but I'm working on making my little soil factory here where I can compost and do leaf mulch. And I've cleared this area out. I've put some weed fabric down, and I have some wood chips that I've been breaking down over there, some leaves, tons of leaves in different containers, old soil that I need to refurbish. So I'm going to be using food scraps and mixing them in to build them back up because the soil is tired. This is the soil that was in my pepper aisle, and I just moved them out and got some new soil. So this is a work in progress. Not everything in your garden needs to look cute all the time. Sometimes you're working on it. Okay? Okay. All right, now I'm going to show you the flowers because I hardly ever do, but look at this rose. All right, if anyone knows the name of this rose, I think it might be a double knockout rose in white, but if you know for sure, please let me know. This rose was already on the property when we got it, so I'm not 100%, but she reblooms. She's beautiful. I don't treat her nicely. I don't even fertilize her or water her, but she shows out all the time. Let me know what you think it is. I have, look at her, some little pansies. Now to the circle garden, which is where most of my flowers are. Now this area, if you've ever watched my videos, you probably never saw, because under all of this are some pretty invasive trees. I have Chinese privet, I have these blackberries and wild blackberries and lots of so I had to cover it with some plastic to try to kill the weeds off and solarize them. And it was really untidy looking last year, so this year I've covered it with wood chips and cardboard and with the weed barrier, and hopefully I'll be able to keep those trees and weeds and all the things that were growing in here down. I might have to leave it like this for a couple years, but we shall see. Anywho, let's walk through the circle garden. So this trellis, cute as it looks, is not even in the ground yet. It hasn't rained here in April, I don't think, at all this year, so this ground is rock solid. I can't push it in. But let's see. All right, so here I have my lemongrass, which I used to grow somewhere else in the garden, but this time I'm going to put it in a container because it gets pretty big. It might be in the way, and I think it'll look beautiful as an ornamental crop. Now let's see, over here I have some sedum. This is a purple variety, and that one's more green and red. And this beauty here are my snapdragons, which I grew last year, and look at them, so pretty. I forget the names of these. They're almost done blooming, but I also have some coreopsis in here which volunteered, so after they die back, these should take over, and I have a zinnia in there. Moving on, more snapdragons. This one is diseased, but I'm gonna wait for it to flower and then I'll cut it back and see if I can treat it. Dianthus. This is the apple blossom dianthus, planted last year, bloomed this year. So pretty. These blooms have been on for, I don't know, 3 weeks. So they're faded, but they're still very pretty. And my flower for the year has to be angora. Oh my goodness. Why didn't anyone tell me about this? This is so pretty. I planted this last year. It's blooming this year. This is one plant. So many blooms. I can't believe it. Anyway, so pretty. I have bee balm here. This is monarda. Hasn't bloomed yet, but I can't wait. They make these beautiful purple flowers. And this is a wave petunia. And then the Super Vista bubble gum. I planted some trees. These are Santa Rosa plums. This one and that one over there. And then this is from that rose I showed you. I dug this up and put it in a container just to see what it'd do, and that's what it did. Alright, so this is a native flower. Look at that. It's a coreopsis. This is so pretty. They look like dandelions, don't they? I think dandelions are pretty. But I have so many of these all around the garden. There's one right here and other places in the garden. Here's another Santa Rosa plum. And this part is mostly edibles. This is the pink lemonade blueberry. And I dug this out from the lawn where I planted it in 2023. And I just dug it up a few months ago. So that's why it's all clay soil. And I'll put it in a better container next year. But I just needed to move it out from the lawn. I've got figs. These 4 are figs. More blueberries. And then I just put this in yesterday. And it's a black consort currant. I planted currants a couple years ago and the birds dug them up. So hopefully in the container it will do better. We shall see. And this is another blueberry that I dug up from the yard where I planted it. It wasn't doing so well and the rabbits were going at it. And it has a volunteer zinnia growing there and I shall allow it. And then another thing of lemongrass. So that's the circle garden. She's just starting to bloom, so I can't wait to see how she look. For the trellis here, I'm thinking of planting a climbing rose on that side. I may also put in a clematis, but we shall see. Not quite sure. Here's what sage looks like when it flowers. Isn't that pretty? I love my perennial herbs. Here's some Lebanese za'atar or Lebanese thyme. It smells so good. Strawberries! I have so many strawberries growing and ripening. And these ones are growing in this Dollar Tree container. These are so cute. $1.25. Look at that. But most of my strawberries grow here in my little strawberry planters, the green stalk planters. And I have to try to protect them from little vermin. But this is the older one. This one's been here since 2023. And this one I put in just this year. Now we have another area back here which I just did, and if you want to see it, let me know. I'll make a whole video about it because this video is getting long, but I did want to show you the orchard. Now this is orchard 1. I have mostly apple trees. That's the granddaddy of the apples and she's doing great. I have some apples in there. Tried to protect them because I forgot to buy the surround WP to prevent the plum cuculio that bores into the apples. So this is my temporary measure. But she also did get, what's it called? Fire blight. I just had to trim her back. She got fire blight, which is very annoying. We'll have to keep an eye on these ones. This is flowering again, so see. And that's where the fire blight goes in. during the flowering stage, so I have to figure out what to do with her. But I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 apple trees here, 2 peach trees. This one was chomped down by the deer, which is why she's so short. And this one is doing okay. And then I just put in this trellis for the grapes. I've had these grapes in for at least 3 years, and they've been rambling about on the ground. These 3 are older. That one I had to replace because I may or may not have stepped on her, and she didn't make it. But this one here I think is a Concord grape, and I trimmed her for the first time this year. I did my grape trimming this year, I'm telling you. Proud of myself. So now here's my reward. Now this is of course not the best shape for the trellis, but the trellis was an afterthought, so I will retrain her up the trellis. But till then I'm going to need these grapes to grow, so we will do what we do. I've got a pomegranate back there, and this is the only one that's doing well. I have 2 pomegranate trees over in orchard 2, and they both shriveled up over the winter, and this one seems to be doing okay, so we'll see how those do. I may have to replace them with something else. This is the pineapple guava, and she is doing fantastic. I just need her to fruit. So in tune with all the other new trellises, this is a new trellis I put up for my fuzzy kiwi. I have a male and female, not sure who is who, because when I bought it there was a male and female, but they weren't labeled. So I presume this is the female because this one was way more vigorous. He was growing up the crepe myrtle tree last year, so I'm presuming hopefully this is the female. I finally trimmed. There's a theme here. I've trimmed her trimmed her this year, and she's, see her all the way at the top there? So we'll see how she does this year. She's been in the ground for 3 or 4 years, no fruit yet, and I'm hopeful that this trim gave her what she needed. But even without fruit, this is so very pretty, very ornamental. Now, just to prove that not everything works out in your garden, here are the carcasses of my cherry trees. So I have these 2 cherry trees which are no longer with us, unfortunately. I had a total of 4 in this area. This was supposed to be my cherry tree area, and they just perished one after the other. This one went away last year, and this one this year. So I have replaced them with this Nankin cherry. It's a bush type cherry. I don't think it's a true cherry, but it shall do. I have one here and one over there. Hopefully they're hardy to this zone here. And my triangle garden, which is what I call this area here, is doing fantastic. My favorite snapdragons, the Black Prince snapdragons, are blooming. There's my clematis, and more of that beautiful coreopsis. Just so many buds about to explode. This is always so pretty when the yarrow finally blooms. They have the pinks and the yellows and the whites, I believe, and it's always so beautiful. More Gora because I can't get enough of it. I love the way it blows in the wind. Look at that. Alright, the little patio area is still under construction. I have things strewn about because I am still planting. I just put in that tree over there. Actually, let's look at it. The pomegranate. Not a pomegranate. It's a persimmon. Asian persimmon that I just put in yesterday, and I'm going to put an Asian pear right behind that lane there. Thank you so much for joining me in the garden today. If you'd like to see how my garden looks in July when everything is fruiting, click on this video or click on this playlist if you'd like to see how I start seeds in my garden. Like the video if you like the video, subscribe for more videos like this, and until next time, may you always find joy in your garden and your life. Bye, garden friend.